It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? A happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us on Pushing the Limits. I'm wearing my Pushing the Limits gear, which, by the way, you can check out on my website, pushingthelimits.live, available for purchase. Inflation, but, you know, my prices are still very reasonable, by the way. Thanks for joining us, everybody. All seriousness, on the FM AM dial, you might be listening and watching on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network. We're on YouTube. We're on X. We're live on Twitch. We're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of a program. As I always say, one of the fastest growing shows in the country, and we appreciate you being a part of it, and we love the phone calls we get all over the country every single day, and I'm very grateful and very humbled, and I appreciate it, and I love the fact that I'm getting messages from you guys every day how much you love my content, and as long as you keep loving it, I'm going to keep putting it out there, and as long as the MAGAs hate what I do, that makes me stronger. It makes me want to put out more content. Those are the true snowflakes in this country. Let's just be honest. We have a lot to get to. So coming up here in just a few minutes, his name is Carmine Sabia. He's a right-wing Christian journalist, conservative. He's a radio and TV pundit, and boy, does he have a beef to pick with me. He does not like the fact that I characterized the Trump rally in Las Vegas the other day of having the feeling of a Klan rally, and he's going to get into it with me, and I'm looking forward to that. He's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. People like Larry Elder out there, I posted a clip on social media where they just refused to answer the question about January 6th. And if Donald Trump wasn't the president at the time, does January 6th happen? I'm going to play that clip for you a little bit later, but I want to play you a clip of what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say earlier today in a press conference in regards to January 6th. Have a listen to this.
Democrats and dishonest people in the media every single day accuse President Trump of waging an insurrection and accuse many of us of waging an insurrection, and you're doing nothing but lying and selling the lies of the Democrats, all for campaigns and elections. Shame on every single person that has done that. Shame on you. You need to tell the truth. You have the freedom of press, one of the greatest rights in this entire world. And anyone that puts the word insurrectionist, calls President Trump an insurrectionist, and calls any of us an insurrectionist is a liar, and you do not deserve the power that you possess. Shame on you. Shame on you.
So let me be very clear. What was it then? If you don't want to be called an insurrectionist or provoking an insurrection or whatever terms you want to use, you want to call it a riot? Whether you call it an insurrection or a riot, what really matters here, Marjorie? What we know on that day is that Donald Trump sat on his fat ass in the White House, probably eating KFC, laughing and joking as some people characterized that worked within the White House that testified under oath. He was begged by some of his staffers to put out a video to end the violence. He refused to do so for 5 hours. If Donald Trump doesn't lie and say that the election was stolen or that it was rigged or any of the other terms that he used, January 6th does not happen. So if you don't want to define it as an insurrection, then say he provoked a riot. Fine by me. So while Marjorie Taylor Greene and other MAGA right-wing cowards like Gymnasium Jordan and DUI Matt Gaetz and others ran out of there for their lives, Donald Trump was sitting on his ass doing nothing, laughing at the chance of hang Mike Pence, inciting violence. And I will play you the words of Donald Trump just the other day in Las Vegas at that Klan rally that I went to, where Donald Trump characterized some of those people on January 6th that beat police officers, sprayed them with bear spray, attempted to gouge their eyes out, and over 100 officers were sent to the hospital. Listen to the way Trump characterized those insurrectionists, and as I like to call them, MAGA terrorists.
And we're going to change that around. We want to be fair. So we're going to change that, and we're going to change it, and we're going to change it fast. But those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election. That's what they were doing. And then the police say, go in, go in, go in, go in. How about Scaffold Joe, the guy on the scaffold? Or how about the big FBI guy or whatever, wherever he comes from? Go on in, everybody, go on in. What a setup that was. What a horrible, horrible thing. And
a horrible, horrible thing. He said all they were doing were protesting a rigged election. Number one, it wasn't a rigged election. Number two, even if it was a rigged election, which again, I preface, was not, does that give people the right to physically assault police officers? Of course it doesn't. So that was stated by Donald Trump at the Klan rally that I have phrased it. And there's a lot of people on social media, a lot of people all over the place that have a problem with me using that kind of language. I said it felt like a Klan rally. I stand by that statement. I really don't care. If people are offended by it, fine. Tell me why, and I'll give you my explanation why. But the guy joining us right now, he is a right-wing pundit. He's a Christian, a conservative, a radio and TV analyst, a journalist. And this is somebody that I can have good conversations with, even though we disagree on a lot of things. I love the fact that we're able to have these types of conversations. And I know Carmine Sabia disagrees with me on my characterization of that rally the other day. So Carmine is nice enough to join us right now on the show, and I appreciate him for doing so. Carmine, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Brian. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay, my friend. I appreciate you coming on. So before we get to the debate of, the characterization of what I called the Trump rally the other day, it felt like a Klan rally. I know. I want to get your opinions on that. I want to ask you something really quickly first, if that's okay. The way the Republicans voted on this binding ethics code with the Supreme Court, I want to get your thoughts on that, because I think you and I would probably agree. We don't want people taking bribes in excess of $4 million. We know that Clarence Thomas did that. So why not put a bill on the table and pass it to not allow anybody, whether you're on the left or the right, to accept bribes on the Supreme Court?
Well, I would disagree with your characterization. There's no evidence that he took a bribe, because there's no evidence that he actually did anything for this person who. There was no cases pending before him that had anything to do with this man. So I wouldn't characterize it as a bribe. He's a billionaire friend. If I was a billionaire and I had friends, I'd give him lavish gifts too. But I do agree with you. I do agree that I would absolutely pass the law. And because even if I don't believe that Justice Thomas took a bribe, it's obviously right for that to happen when you can have those kind of gifts given to a Supreme Court justice. And there's not a lot of oversight for the Supreme Court short of impeachment.
Okay, so for the most part, I agree with you. The only thing I would disagree with is, yes, I do think Clarence, and there's proven, the way that they have voted on certain bills and the people that were involved, I think you could make the case that at least one donor to Clarence Thomas could have been a bribe. But let's go there. 3 out of 4 people in this country agree with this bill. The voters support a binding ethics code. The reason why it didn't pass, simply put, is because the overwhelming majority of Republicans voted against it. So my question to you, Carmine, is why?
I'd have to ask them. I'm not a voter. If I was voting on it, I would have voted for it.
I know you would have. I think you have a moral compass, but can I give you my reasoning, and then you can tell me whether you disagree or not? Is that fair?
It's fair.
Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito are conservatives on the Supreme Court. They are the only two that are accused of taking bribes. So I think Republicans understand that these are the two conservatives that are going to help support our agenda, whether it was passing Roe versus Wade or whatever they have in the future. So I think what many of these Republicans are doing is they are putting their moral compass aside, even though they probably know that taking bribes is not good for anybody on the Supreme Court, allegedly. And they're putting that aside because they know that these are Supreme Court justices that are on their side politically, and they're putting that ahead of morals and ethics. That's my opinion.
I don't disagree, but I would argue with you that if the roles were reversed, Schumer would be doing the same thing.
I mean, I hope not. I think that's you're making that judgment. I don't know if he would do the same thing, but I can tell you what I would do. I'd be preaching the same thing on the air. Anybody, Democrat or Republican, that
So
is.
would I.
Yeah. So we agree on that. But I think this is disgusting the way Republicans voted on this.
I just think that Congress is so hypocritical all the time when things pertain to. I remember a senator at the time, Obama, arguing in favor of the filibuster. And then when they're out of power, they're not in favor of the filibuster. And the Republicans do the same thing. Gerrymandering. It's bad if you do it, but it's okay if we do it. And that happens all the time. So I think gerrymandering is horrible. I think gerrymandering shouldn't be a thing.
I hear you. But if you can name me a Democrat that's on the Supreme Court right now that's accepting over $4 million of gifts, and which I would consider bribes, by the way, then I would feel the same way. The bottom line is we're just not talking about anybody on the left on the Supreme Court right now. We're talking about Clarence Thomas, and I think his wife is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And we're talking about Justice Alito, who, again, blames his wife for an upside-down flag and all this other stuff. It's beyond inappropriate. I think what Clarence Thomas has done is even far worse. But all right, well, we'll agree on most of that. Let's agree that, they should pass a bill like this. Republicans are the reason why it wasn't passed. And if a Democrat, anybody on on a Supreme Court does what Clarence Thomas has done or Justice Alito, I'll be just as tough on them. I promise you that, Carmine. All right,
I know you will.
Yes.
So I'm with you, though. Let's pass this bill. Let's get it done. I would agree with that.
You got to talk to your Republican friends about this, those that are in office, because they voted against it. All right, let's talk about.
I'll probably tweet about it later, actually.
Good.
I think it should be passed.
I'm glad we agree on this.
And I think something else Congress, just real quick, should pass. I think that they're very hypocritical on, all of them, is, let's make insider trading illegal while we're at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's stop that nonsense.
I am with you 150% on that as well.
I think most people are.
Yep.
I think most people are with us.
Democrat or we've had Democrats and Republicans that have taken advantage of their positions and done insider trading.
Oh, gosh, yes. Look at there's lists.
Yep.
There's lists online. It's both parties, man. It's both parties.
You might as well go into a bank and steal money. That's exactly what they're doing. So I'm
and if you did it, and if you and I did it, we'd be in jail.
No question. So, I mean, we absolutely fundamentally agree on that as well, and I don't care whether you have a D or an R next to your name. I'm with you. All right, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to get into with you today.
Yes,
so, as you know, Carmine, I went to the Donald Trump rally a few days ago.
And I think you're better for it.
Well, I went. I got a really bad suntan, so I don't know if I am. But, I wasn't going to go, and Ron Filipowski, I was talking to him in the morning, and he said I should go, so I went. And I had no idea if I was even going to video anything. I didn't bring any equipment with me. I just had my cell phone. So, I videoed the Trump sneakers. I videoed the Trump Bibles. And I just felt dirty when I was there. And then Newsmax does an interview with me. And I had no idea, by the way, they were going to come up to me and interview me. And I just went off the cuff. And I said, I get the feeling like it feels like a Klan rally. And that made headwaves all over social media. A lot of very prominent people retweeting my stuff.
Krasenstein brothers, man, the Krasenstein brothers put you out there.
Well, the interesting thing is that, and I haven't seen all that, by the way. I haven't seen everybody in their commentary on it. Maybe you'll have to send that to me. But I took a lot of flack. And in no way, shape, or form do I think that every Trump supporter is a racist. I don't think you're a racist. You're a Trump supporter. I don't think you're a Klan member. You're a Trump supporter. I have friends that are Trump supporters. I said it felt like a Klan rally. And the reason why I said that is because of the stuff they were selling, and I felt like it's a cult. I feel like it's a cult. And I know you disagree with me on that, so that's why I wanted you on the show. Why do you disagree with me on that? You don't feel like it's a cult?
I think, this is a nuanced answer. I think that it's a cult thing because I've heard a lot of Democrats say this in the past. I've heard Swalwell say it. It's been a talking point for Democrats for about the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've said it for years, but heavy the last 2 weeks. And it may be because of the Bibles, it may be because of whatever. By the way, just as a Christian, vehemently against the Bibles with Trump. Vehemently against that. I think I was insulted by that, and I tweeted about that. I was very insulted. I thought that was sacrilegious. And the Constitution does not belong in the Bible.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the Bible. And so I was really upset about that. That being said, let's put that aside.
I appreciate you saying that.
The fact that they're still selling it, which I didn't know, is really bothering me. Because here's the thing. I don't feel like Trump supporters are a cult. Do I believe there is a subsection of Trump supporters who are a cult or act like they're in a cult? Yes, I do. Do I believe there was a subsection of President Obama voters who acted like they were in a cult, especially in 2007, 2008? Yes, I do.
Okay, let's stop there.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that of Joe Biden. I don't think his supporters are as fervent.
Fair enough.
Obama and Trump, very fervent supporters.
So here's where I would respectfully disagree with you. While there were Obama fans out there, and I think a lot of it had to do with besides the fact that very eloquent guy, good-looking dude, but the fact that he was the first black president, I think that's very different. Yes, people are wearing the Obama shirts, but not to the extent that they're doing with Donald Trump. They weren't selling Barack Obama sneakers, as far as I know. They weren't selling Barack Obama Bibles. And by the way, Barack Obama never said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. You know that, Carmine.
Obama sneakers would have sold like hotcakes if they did, though. They missed an opportunity.
And why didn't he do that? Because he didn't care about snake. He's not a snake oil salesman like Donald Trump is.
Trump's a marketer. This is what he does. He's a brander.
But when you're president of the United States, you shouldn't be concerned about your brand and marketing. You should be concerned about governing and running the country, selling Bibles with Lee Greenwood. And guess what? I blame the people that are buying them, not just Donald Trump for selling them, the idiots that are buying them. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I can't imagine a Christian buying it. I can't.
But they are, Carmine. They are.
I know, but I can't understand that.
So I guess the defining difference to me is, there were Obama fans. They were buying merchandise and stuff, but it was a very different feel to it. It was more of, wow, the first black president. This is historic. I don't hear anybody saying the first orange president. This is historic. You get what I'm saying.
But he is the first orange president.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I didn't think about that. You might have corrected me on that. Maybe you're right. But okay, so I appreciate. Okay, you said a subsection. Let's go with that for a moment. And you, it makes some sense what you said. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't agree with your analogy to Obama, but I agree not everybody's a Trump cultist. I feel like...
Well, I'm just talking about the fervent fans.
And
That's what I'm talking about, the real
understood.
hardcore.
Totally get your point. I feel like, Carmine, the people that are traveling to these rallies, because these were not all locals, okay? I know a lot of the locals here that are big Trumpers. These were a lot of people that travel to these events. They travel to these rallies. They buy the merchandise and the memorabilia. They hold up their signs, their F. Joe Biden shirts, and Let's Go Brandon and their Bibles. And many of those people, as you said in a subsection, go to these rallies. They get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. They wait there for 6 or 7 hours in 105-degree heat. By the way, many of those people, in one of my videos that went viral, were leaving in the middle of the speech. I find that to be very weird. But a lot of these people are, in my opinion, in that subsection of cult that you were talking about. And that's why I use the term, it feels dirty. It feels like a Klan rally.
Sure. So, and I think maybe you're not saying Klan rally in terms of these people want to hang black people.
Of course I'm not. Right, of course. You know why I'm saying that. You're smart enough to understand what, I'm just comparing it to a cult, right?
A cult. Heaven's Gate maybe would have been a better analogy.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
But so, I mean, I hate when you do this because you bring up things that, I'm like, well, yeah, I can't imagine going from if he had a rally in New Jersey, I didn't go. But if he had a rally in New Jersey, I went to the rally in New Jersey or New York. I get that. Traveling to a rally to hear the same speech you heard at 5 other rallies doesn't make sense to me. But listen, there are people, and this is what I would equate it to. A friend of mine, for example, that will go to, if there's a Kiss concert here and a Kiss, they'll go and see the same concert 8 times for Kiss or their favorite rock band. And Trump's kind of got that. He's like a rock star, man. It's a different kind of politician than you've ever seen before. And I think that does confuse people, especially, I always forget if you're the same age as me. But
44.
I know you're close.
44. I'm old.
44.
Yep.
I'm 46. So
we're both old.
It's a different politician than we're used to. And I'll actually, if we have time, I'd like to get into this N-word controversy with this girl influencer, because it actually relates to our age group.
Okay, before we do that, if I may, and I want to get into that with you, let me just ask you about what you just said, because my ADD and I forget, Carmine. I apologize. But you had compared him, to Kiss. Yeah, to Kiss. So I've had a lot of people that have attacked me on the right for wearing a Celtics jersey, comparing a Celtics jersey to a cult. And my response to that is this, and you can tell me whether you disagree. We're not talking about a musician. We're not talking about an athlete. We're talking about a lawmaker and a politician. There's a very different thing, in my opinion, to wearing a jersey, which, by the way, I paid $40 for maybe. And, they're not having me buy Celtic Bibles. They're not they're not doing the types of things that Donald Trump is doing. I think there's a fine difference between an athlete that you root for to excel on the basketball court or football field or wherever, or a musician because you enjoy their music, and a politician that is a lawmaker. I just think there is such a strong defiance there, and I don't think that's a fair analogy in my opinion.
It's not that it's a fair analogy. I think it's a real analogy. I'm a Yankee fan. I have my Yankee gear. I'll give you an example. I watch professional wrestling. I was a professional wrestling promoter. I have friends who are in WWE, friends who are in AEW. These are wrestling companies. I have over $100,000 in wrestling belts in my house.
That's a lot.
Okay.
Yep.
And people would say, "Well, that's crazy." It is crazy. It's definitely being a fanatic. I enjoy them. To me, they're artwork. I have a belt that's $5,000, $4,000. Just singular belts.
But Carmine, that's entertainment, and I don't see anything wrong with that. That's entertainment. You enjoy wrestling. You've been involved in the business. They're entertainers. Same thing with athletes. They're entertainers. Musicians, they're entertainers. It's not the job of the President of the United States to entertain people. Yeah, we want someone that's a good speaker. We want someone that's eloquent, intelligent. But this is about lawmaking and informing the American people and governing. It's not about entertaining. It shouldn't be about making people laugh or, hey, I want to go to that rally because I want to hear the horrible things that Trump says about Democrats. That's not what being president of the United States is all about. I want to hear him attack women. I want to hear him attack John McCain. No, you go to a Celtic game, I want to watch my team win. I want to watch some great basketball. I go to a Kiss concert. I can't wait to hear these songs. I love these guys. I love their music. It's just, to me, it's entertainment versus lawmaking.
Sure. I don't disagree. I'm just telling you that I think the game has changed. I'm not saying that I like that the game has changed, but the game has changed. And I think Trump, and I think here's the thing, too, I think the charges, bro, I think the conviction, I think that's going to backfire so tremendously, man. I think that it was a big mistake. I think the convicted felon line has backfired tremendously. I think that, especially when your son's a convicted felon, it's going to be really hard to make that case that, convicted felon.
Hunter Biden's not running for office, and he's not running for president, though.
No, but would you mock convicted felons if your son was a convicted felon? It's a hard thing. Every time Joe Biden says the words, people are going to say, "What about your son?"
I don't think it's about mocking. It's about pointing out. Donald Trump, now I can do the mocking. I do a radio show, and I despise the man. But if you call him a convicted felon, go ahead and call my son a convicted felon. But my son is not trying to run the country. And my son is not the one who bitched every day outside the courtroom. My son and I have not attacked our justice system. We haven't attacked the judge or his family. We haven't attacked the jury. We've respected the decision. Donald Trump has done the opposite, and that's why he deserves to be mocked.
Although it's wild, though, that basically father and son are arguing different positions, right? Because Biden supports the law that Hunter, that Hunter got convicted for.
Sure.
And Hunter's going to argue the NRA talking points, and that is going to be wild, but that's a story for another day. That's going to be wild to see that. No, I hear you. I think the best thing that could have happened for Trump did not happen. An acquittal. An acquittal of Hunter Biden would have been gold for Trump. Hunter Biden getting convicted really puts a crank in the justice system is rigged argument. Although I think both cases, I will argue to this, and I said it on Twitter. Again, these are things I say publicly.
Sure.
I think both cases, neither case happens if their names are not Trump and Biden. I think neither case ever happens.
So, Carmine, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised at my reaction to that. You might very well be right. But can't we both be right in that maybe they're not convicted if they're not who they are, but maybe, you shouldn't break the law either. Can't both be right? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, no, absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, and maybe you have to be extra careful if that is who you are.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I just think that I saw in two cases here that okay, nobody's above the law, but I feel like these two guys were put below the law. And now you want to talk about the Georgia case, you want to talk about the Jack Smith case, legitimate cases. You want the Hunter Biden tax case,
right?
Legitimate case.
Yep.
But these two particular cases, I thought were nonsense.
I don't want to use, but I don't want to use. Okay, tell me if you disagree with this. I don't want to use the term excuse because I'm not excusing what Hunter Biden did. I respect, just like Joe Biden, I respect, the jury's decision. And if they want to give him jail time, I think I wouldn't agree with it, but I would still say, all right, that fine. Hunter Biden was a drug addict. He probably still suffers every day. Not excusing the laws that he broke, but this is a man who's been open about his drug abuse. Joe Biden has talked about it. He's proud of his son getting through the darkest days. What is Donald Trump's excuse? He's a man, morally, let's start morally, who has unprotected sex with a porn star 2 weeks after Melania has Barron.
He denies it. He denies it.
Which is absurd. It's absurd. We all know it took place. He does not dishing out $130,000 unless he wants to shut her up. The same thing with McDougal. We know it happened. Number two, Donald Trump decides to cover it up to the American people 2 weeks before the election and falsifies business records. He did it to himself. If he wasn't Donald Trump, if he wasn't running for president, he wouldn't have paid her $130,000 to begin with. You know why, Carmine? And this is the brunt of the entire case. He didn't do this because of his family. He didn't do it because he cared about what Melania thought. He did it for one reason and one reason only. He wanted to win the election, and he wanted to hide it from the American people.
But that argument loses steam, though, when you realize that the Access Hollywood tape did nothing to him.
Then why did he pay her $130,000 then if he felt that way?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I mean, everybody knows that Trump was a playboy. Everybody knows Trump got around. I don't know. I don't think it would have made a lick of difference if that story came out or not.
You might be right. But that was Donald Trump's choice to do what he did. You're probably right. It ended up being a big mistake. As far as the Access Hollywood tape and his despicable comments, half-hearted apology, and then he made claims that might not have even been his voice, and it was locker room talk. The man never owns anything in his life. I've never heard him truly be sorry or apologize for anything. He's had yes men around him his entire life, and now he finally is going to have to face the music and suffer some consequences, and yet he's still bitching and complaining.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see what the sentence is. If they sentence him to jail time,
I don't think that's going to happen.
That would be ridiculous, and he'd be doing him a big favor.
Yeah. Carmine, Carmine, do you agree with me? I don't think either of them, Hunter Biden or Donald Trump, are going to be sentenced to jail. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yeah,
and I'm okay with that. Now, if you ask me, what do I think he deserves? That's a different story. But as far as the law is concerned, I mean, Michael Cohen did go to jail for different reasons, but I think there might be some sort of house arrest. It is interesting, Carmine, that during the trial, Donald Trump bitched and moaned about everything, including the fact, they're not letting me campaign. And then on every day off he played golf. And then after the trial, he played golf 6 days in a row. So why do I keep hearing this guy bitching every day at trial? I can't campaign. And then when he has all these days off, he's playing golf every day. It's ridiculous.
That's a good question. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But I think the golden opportunity that I think he actually made a mistake on is you had cameras on you every day. Instead of talking about the case, you should have been using that to campaign. Mm-hmm. There was literally cameras on you every day. Every channel was covering every word.
Yeah.
That was the best campaign opportunity ever.
Yeah, that's true. You got to be careful, though. You got to be careful with your words, Carmine. When you say gold and Donald Trump, I keep thinking about Russian disinformation about urination. So be careful there. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Terrible joke. Terrible joke.
That was disinformation. I do have, by the way, I have the sneakers. I have the official Trump sneakers.
Why would you buy those pieces of crap? Can you please tell me that, Carmine? You're a nice guy. Why the hell would you buy $15 Trump? What did you pay? $400? They were selling them for $750, by the way, at the Vegas clan rally. Yeah.
I wish you got me some more because I can get $3,500 for them all day.
All right, listen. I have a little bit more respect for the fact that you're taking advantage of stupid people, and that's okay. That's okay.
I'm just being a capitalist.
Carmine,
I'm just being a capitalist.
Carmine, come on. If you're willing to spend, listen, I call you smart for doing that. If people out there are willing to spend $3,500 for a pair of sneakers that cost $15 that you can buy at a thrift shop, the only difference is it's got a T on it and fake gold spray paint for $3,500. You're stupid. Come on, just admit it. Come on.
They're limited edition, man. Only 400 made.
Come on, man. Come on.
I'm trying to make sales here, Brian. What are you doing to me? I'm trying to make sales. Listen. I knew they'd be a collector's item. I'm kicking myself that I didn't get more.
You really think that's going to be a collector's item after he loses in November? Come on.
Well, I think he's going to win, but even if he lost, hell yes, it's going to be a collector's item.
Okay,
yes.
Listen, I don't have as much.
Because people won't go away. People are not going to go away from this man. They're going to love him till he dies, and after he dies, they're still going to love him. He has transformed the Republican Party for better or worse. I'm a Reagan Republican. I'll always be a Reagan Republican. I'm a Reagan conservative. I still believe in the days of you think this and I think this. Let's get together and meet in the middle. I still subscribe to that.
All right, let me ask you another question then. Jerry West just passed away. If you told me you just spent $5,000 on Jerry West vintage sneakers that were worn back when he played, I would say, well, Jerry West is one of the best basketball players of all time. He's a good man, a hero, said all the right things, good friend, family man. Okay, I get that. What the hell has Donald Trump – first of all, when was the last time the guy ran? I had some bozo on a space I was invited to the other day that claimed because Donald Trump had a hole-in-one, he's some sort of great athlete. 90-year-olds get hole-in-ones. It's the dumbest – the guy's never – when was the last time the guy even got any exercise at all? Swinging a golf club like Charles Barkley and getting on a golf cart is not exercise. Trust me, I know it because I play golf myself and I'm lazy and I get on a cart. The guy can't even run. Look at him. He's morbidly obese.
I can't play golf.
Sneakers? The guy, what the hell does the guy do athletically to buy his sneakers?
So
I don't get it.
The sneaker thing is funny. The sneaker thing is funny. I'm not, but what I would argue to you is, first of all, I wouldn't pay $3,500 for them. I got them for $400. I'd sell them for $3,500. In fact, when I first got them and they first came out, and this is where I made a mistake, I had the pre-order. I was offered $5,000 for them. I said no, thinking, hey, I had to take the chance I might get the autographed ones because some of them are autographed.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, if I get the autographed ones, those are selling right now. Honestly, those are selling right now, autographed, $25,000.
What? All right, I'm gonna go to the next Klan rally and I'm gonna buy some sneakers and get them signed. All right, I'll go.
Get them signed.
Are they actually being sold for that much?
And they're actually selling, yes, $25,000.
Oh my goodness gracious, man! Now I'm thinking. Now the wheels are turning, Carmine. I'm starting to agree with you. All right, everybody, go buy those sneakers. Go get them signed. Go get them signed by Donald Trump. Go to a rally, get video evidence of it, and then make money off of the morons that are willing to spend that kind of money. I say it. I don't disapprove.
$25,000. You can't argue it.
But
now,
inflation.
If I was going to spend $5,000 on something, I'd be looking for something signed by like Michael Jordan.
Of course, so would I. I'm with you. But that's not a cult. Someone's willing to. Well, I know we already had this conversation, but
some people.
$25,000 for a signed Donald Trump sneakers. Maybe have him sign a Confederate flag. I wonder what that would go for, Carmine. I don't know.
You know what? That would go for a fortune because I don't think he'd do it. And if you got him to do it.
Let's say, okay, I'm going to ask you something, Carmine, and it might be an inappropriate question, but, I'm sorry. This is just the way I think. Let's just say I got, and I'm saying this half-heartedly joking and partly serious. Let's just say I brought a white sheet to his rally. I think you know where I'm going with this. Just a white sheet.
Oh, my sweet Lord.
Just a white sheet. And I had video of him signing the white sheet. We turned it into a Klan outfit. And I put it up.
After he signed it.
Yeah, after he signed it. He doesn't know, right? I put it up on eBay. What do you think that somebody would buy it? You can't tell me nobody would buy that.
Absolutely. First of all, it would be bought. Does somebody want a Klan hood in their house? Yeah, $10,000. $10,000. I think maybe $10,000.
Okay, I like your honesty. All right. I'm not saying anybody should do that. I'm just saying I know there's people out there that would buy it. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Now, let's be honest. One of these candidates did campaign with a Klan member, though, and that was Joe Biden.
Okay, but context, I think, is very important when you're talking about Mr. Byrd, and you know this, Carmine. I know you know this. He developed.
I know he apologized later, but that didn't really give a lot of comfort to the black guys that got hung on trees, though, did it?
Well, here's what I'll say to that. If anybody knows the history of his relationship with Mr. Byrd, because I get frustrated with people sometimes when they bring that up. He developed a friendship with Byrd, and he transitioned him and explained to him that the horrible things that he's done and said. That's the main reason why Mr. Byrd apologized. And there are other Klan members or former Klan members out there where black people, I've seen stories about this. They develop friendships with them, and they turn them around. and they become friends. Joe Biden spoke at his funeral, not because Joe Biden ever endorsed the hatred, because he was able to transition him and his way of thinking. I give Joe Biden credit for that, and yet Republicans want to chastise him for it.
Well, I didn't know that story. Now, you're
Yes.
saying that Joe Biden was actually responsible for
one of
his
the people that was, and Byrd talked about that, by the way, and Biden's talked about that. I think that's a positive, not a negative. But
that would be a positive thing.
Yeah, no question. Well, here's what I'll say to close, Carmine. First of all,
we didn't get to the N-word girl.
Oh, go ahead. Yep.
So, if there's any conservatives listening to your show, don't let her be an influencer, please. Don't. Just don't. Just don't, man. There are some people in the conservative movement right now that are influencers that just seem determined to stop any black votes from coming our way.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I think, look, how she used the N-word.
I understand it. They're racists. That's why I understand
we call them the lily whites.
Yeah.
That want a lily white party. Yeah, those people are racist. But look, the way she used the N-word, I don't think was a big deal. I think it's a big deal that a white person said it. You shouldn't say it. But I think we've desensitized the word so much to this new generation. Not our generation, we understand. We get the heaviness of the word. We feel the weight of the word. I do not believe kids today feel the weight of the word because it's said like it said hello. If every song you listen to radio, 90% of them have that word over and over and over and over again, you get desensitized. And you might, as a white kid, younger, let that word slip. People like you and I, we come from a generation where that word was so taboo. We're never going to let that word out. We're never going to say that word.
And I still feel that way. Yep.
But again, exactly. But I think kids today don't see it the same way. So to judge them on it, I don't think she's a bad person because she said the word. What I do think, though, is that, and I admire that she didn't back down. I do admire that, but I think she should have said, "Look, I don't apologize for it because I didn't mean it in a negative way."
Right.
But I understand now how it makes certain people feel, and I don't want it to be that way. And then instead, she's really like dropping it still, and that's what I think. Okay, you're just trying to cash in now,
right?
With this whole internet culture, and you're a bad. We don't need you in the Republican Party or as an influencer for certain.
I'm going to make a correlation. I agree with everything you said. I am going to make a correlation to that. You're just trying to cash in. Donald Trump Bibles. He's just trying to cash in. To me, you're taking advantage of religion. You're taking
the Bible. I'm against that. I'm against the Trump Bibles.
I know you are. I know you are, and I appreciate that. As far as the N-word goes, at a minimum, if any white person uses that word the way she used it, you're very complicit. You're very ignorant. You weren't raised the right way because my parents raised me to what that word means and how horrible it is, and I know you were raised that way as well.
I just said to somebody this week, I said, the reason I would never listen to it in my house, that was worse than the N-word. I mean, the F word. It was the worst word you could say. Yeah. So I was raised that way. It was ingrained in me. It was ingrained in my head.
I have a quick story, 30 seconds here. As you know, Wayne Allen Root, who introduces Donald Trump all the time when he comes to Vegas, I call him Wayne Allen Kook, and I was responsible for getting him fired from the Review-Journal after he did my show and regretted it after because I quoted a lot of the idiotic things that he said. You know what he said about the N-word? Wayne Allen Root. I'm going to tell you what he said, and he didn't deny it on my show. He said calling somebody old is just as bad as calling somebody the N-word. He said that, and then when he came on my show, I questioned him on it, and he doubled down on it. And this is the guy at the Trump rally that is talking about God. He's talking about God and Donald Trump. This is the guy that these are the people that surround themselves around Donald Trump, not you, but the people that introduce Donald Trump on stages say that calling somebody old is like calling somebody the N-word. And I confronted him about that.
Sure, I don't know. I'd like to hear your interview with him on that because that's ridiculous.
Yep.
But I don't know that Trump knows he said that. However, if Trump were informed of that and Trump defended it, I'd have a problem with that too. It's not even. If you said to me calling a gay person the F word is similar, or you said calling somebody with mental disabilities the R word is similar, I could see the argument. But old?
Yep.
Everybody gets old.
Absurd.
Everybody gets old if you're lucky, unless you're unlucky.
Of course.
Everybody gets old.
Of course. It's absurd, but sadly these are the types of
that
people.
is
Yep.
ridiculous. That's
Yep.
ridiculous. I'd love to hear his defense of that. I would, if I were on the show with you, we're both Trump supporters, I would argue this with him. That's a ridiculous argument. That's a ridiculous argument.
Yeah, well, he also said that Muslims were responsible for October 1, and then when challenged on it, he claimed that a police officer, someone in law enforcement told him that, didn't ever mention the name. He said the Obamas have had gay relationships. He claimed during COVID he had a pill to cure COVID, and then he got a letter from the Attorney General basically telling him to knock it off. I rolled all this stuff out with him in the interview.
I mean, there's people that are saying Macron's wife is a man. I mean, they're just stupid people. They're just stupid people.
Listen, Candace Owens is a complete Candace Owens is a grifter. She's a complete imbecile. A complete imbecile, and she only makes statements like that for clicks. There's a way to get clicks, and I can tell you right now, if people want to say, well, you just called it, you said it felt like a Klan rally because of clicks. No, I absolutely believe that. I can tell you right now, Candace Owens does not believe.
No, you had no idea that was going to go. You had no idea that was going to go with the way it did.
It was off the cuff. I had no idea. I had an idea of what to expect, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. Candace Owens knows what she's doing, and she knows that that is a woman, not a man, and she's only doing it for clicks because she's despicable. Carmine,
I've actually gone out, and I will just say real quick, I've actually, again, people can search my Twitter. If you go to my tweets on January 1st, January 6th, I was saying this is horrible, this is humiliating. If you go to my tweets about people calling Michelle Obama a man, I knock that and tell people that's horrible. So I don't, even if you watch my videos on YouTube, you know, I tell people, I say, look, you watch me because I tell you the truth. If you want to hear lies, there's plenty of people you can listen to. I'm not that guy.
I know you're not that guy, and that's why I enjoy having you on. Not to say that I don't have kooks on this show now and then as well, because I do.
I've seen some of them.
Yeah,
I've seen some of them.
But you know, I know. But I do disagree with you sometimes when, you know, Joe Biden's old and, you know, sometimes he's pointing on where to go. I think you make too big of a deal out of certain situations. Joe Biden's
did you see today, bro?
I did.
He's deteriorating before our eyes.
All right. Well, I mean,
the man's deteriorating.
You can look up same videos on YouTube of Donald Trump deteriorating as well, making mumbling and bubbling comments, talking about how he defeated Barack Obama in the elections, how Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq, comparing Nancy Pelosi to Nikki Haley, saying you need ID to buy bread. Listen, we can go back and forth.
But this guy doesn't know where he's walking to, for God's sake. He's saluting thin air.
I mean, listen, Donald Trump, the guy, you want to talk about saluting dead air? How about all the times, including at the airport in Las Vegas, when he waved to thin air? You know the difference is he did it on purpose because he's a con man. He waves at people that don't exist, and he points at people that don't exist, not because he thinks that there are people there, because he is intentionally trying to con people like you. So I would rather have a guy who's old, who's mumbling and stumbling a little bit, not intent.
But Alzheimer's, though, man. I mean, you want that in the White House? Listen,
I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say that.
Can we agree that if you're voting for Joe Biden, you're really voting for President Kamala Harris?
No.
There's no way this guy makes it 4 years.
So
there's no chance.
I heard that 4 years ago. And I also have heard he's not going to make it to the elections. I heard that 4 years ago. I heard a lot of people like you saying he's not going to make it 4 years. Well, guess what? He has. And, you know, he's got to prove to people out there that he's competent for the job, and that's why I think the debate, which I'll be curious to get your reaction to it, is more important to Joe Biden than Donald Trump. But the point the point I'm trying to make is, while he's old and he's feeble and he's not,
you said the O word,
huh? Oh, I said old. I'm sorry about Wayne Allen Root. Oh boy, it's like the N word. Oh boy, yeah. Let's talk to Wayne Allen Root about that. He is old and he is feeble, and I wish he was younger. I would still rather have that, and I can give you the laundry list of Trump. We don't need to go into that. But if you're talking about waving at thin air, Donald Trump does it all the time, and he does it intentionally while one of his staffers records him, like he did at the Las Vegas airport, waving to nobody, because he's an intentional con man. But I'll say this in closing, Carmine, and by the way, I really do appreciate you coming on. I always do, and I appreciate the time. You're a good, decent man, and even though we disagree on stuff, I always love having you on this show. And I mean this sincerely. I'm not joking. I hope you make a lot of money on those gold sneakers. I really do.
I think I will.
It's a smart business decision. And by the way, I don't have any problem with people that are selling the gold sneakers. I have a problem with people that are selling the Bibles, but I think we agree on that. But
I will not. I don't care if they were worth $100,000. I wouldn't sell the Bibles.
Yeah, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. Carmine, give out your social media before I let you go. You're a good follow.
Sure, man. It's just at Carmine Sabia. You can follow me. You can watch my videos at Explain America on YouTube and Facebook. And that's it, yeah.
Carmine, you need to come out to Vegas. Next Trump rally, we're going to go buy some gold sneakers together, okay? And then
my brother lives there, man. I'll hook you up with him.
I got to meet your brother. Carmine, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. You're a good dude, and thanks for the time, my man.
God bless you, Brian.
All
Have
right.
a great day,
you
man.
You too. Take care. Carmine Sabia, everybody. There's a guy that I disagree with on the basics, right, when it comes to Donald Trump, but he's not a bad guy. He's a decent guy, and he does have a moral compass. I don't know why he's still supporting Donald Trump, but, that's here nor there. But I appreciate the fact that he's at least willing to call out the obvious. I want to take some phone calls when we come back. That was a very interesting interview. Before I do, I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Every Tuesday, show your TAM card. You get a free $50 in free slot play. And today happens to be Thursday. That means an opportunity to win free gas cards. They give away $1,500 in free gas cards every Thursday. Play those slots, you get into that electrical drum, and you get more of a chance to do so. So check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. The number to call, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. We're going to have some more audio to play for you as the show progresses here. My getting into it with Larry Elder. I want to play that about January 6th. I think it's very poignant, and it rings true to today. We're going to play that for you. I can't believe this, but I'm actually going to agree with Rashida Tlaib. She spoke on the House floor today about Republicans against this binding ethics code bill that they tried to pass. Even Carmine agreed with me on this. It's absurd. Republicans don't care if Supreme Court justices take bribes as long as they're Republicans. It's absurd. We'll get reaction from that, Adam Schiff reaction to that. And there are still Republicans out there like imbeciles like Byron Donalds who think Joe Biden should be impeached because of student loan forgiveness. Forget about Donald Trump's felonies. Forget about all his lies and threats on our democracy. Let's get Joe Biden impeached because he wants to help people that are struggling financially. It is unbelievable. We'll play that for you when we come back as well. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. 702-221-7283 if you want to be a part of the program. Calls on the other side of the break. Reaction to my interview with Carmine Sabia. We will take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a special treat for you tomorrow. The Mooch himself. I'm lucky to call him a friend. I think he's a great guy, lifelong Republican, calling out Donald Trump, extremely intelligent, and I love his takes. Anthony Scaramucci. What was he? He was the press secretary. I see if I get it wrong, he's going to be angry at me tomorrow. It was like 12 or 13 days. It was less than 2 weeks. Anthony Scaramucci will be joining us on the show tomorrow, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Man, do I have a lot to get to with him. And anyone who listens to this show knows I interview more Republicans than Democrats. Usually I interview Republicans that disagree with me, and we'll play some Larry Elder audio a little bit later on in the program. But I did promise I would get back to our phone lines. Before I do, please check out my new website. I got a group of people who put it together, and they did such a great job. I'm very proud of it. It's pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can subscribe free to my newsletter. There's some merchandise on there, as I'm wearing my Pushing the Limits shirt as we speak. The most popular shirt is Don't Be a Right-Wing Buffoon. So pushingthelimits.live. I promised I would get right to our phone calls, reaction to the Carmine Sabia's interview, and and much more that we discussed, all the topics. 702-221-7283. Right now the phone lines are jammed. But we'll take as many calls as we can this segment. Let's go to Alan, who's first up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Alan.
Brian, let me talk to you, my friend. Give me an old, feeble Joe Biden any day over Donald Trump. And then I'll tell you why I say that. First of all, even if Joe is a little feeble, just hypothetical, which I don't think he is. I think he's got 4 more good years in him. Look at the people he's going to surround himself with, compared to the people that Donald Trump is going to surround himself with.
I agree. I made that. I made that exact statement yesterday with Amy Tarkanian. If you heard yesterday, yep, yeah. I agree.
I mean, look who Donald Trump put in. He put somebody in head of education that had no education experience because it was a friend.
Well, maybe to her, maybe she went to Trump University. Let's give her credit for that.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, let me ask you something. Did you see the interview with Dr. Phil?
I did. I thought it was pathetic. What a poor excuse for a journalist this guy is. Are you kidding me? Dr. Phil is a complete moron, and the way he interviewed Donald Trump, it was a fluffer interview. That's what it was.
Why didn't he just reach over and give him a big kiss?
Yeah, you know what's so funny? I was thinking the same thing, Alan, as I watched that interview. I thought they were going to make love to one another. Yeah, I mean.
Oh my.
But Donald Trump won't do any interviews anymore where people will give him any pushback. You know, Alan, he won't do that because he's a coward.
It's it. Give him. I got to say something. I was kind of disappointed in CNN when they had Trump when they did a town meeting with Trump.
Yeah,
they brought in all his supporters.
It's hard, though, Alan. Alan, it's really hard, though, and I think you'll agree with me on this. Caitlin Collins, I think she's a very good journalist. When he continually talks over you and bullies you, it would be a dream of mine to be able to sit with Donald Trump for 30 minutes. And the first thing I would say to him is, don't interrupt me. Let me finish my question. Don't filibuster me. And I will interrupt you if you are lying. And I would set ground rules to start. And then if he doesn't want to do it, I would say you can blame your bone spurs and you can get up and walk away. But that's the way we're going to do this.
I got to tell you something, Brian. I'm a Philly boy, and I don't know if you remember that lady during a town meeting they had in Philly with Donald Trump. She told him, don't interrupt me. I don't know if you remember that.
I do, and I thought that was wonderful. Yeah. Alan, great call. You made a lot of great points, my friend. Where are you calling from?
You're
from Philly? You from Philly?
Yeah, I'm From the Philly area. Yep.
All right. Listen, I'm a Celtics fan. Please don't hold that against me, okay? Okay,
I
Alan?
won't hold that against you, bro.
I love Alan
I won't hold it
Iverson.
against you.
Mo Cheeks and Alan Iverson. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, my
You got
friend.
it, my brother. You take care.
You too, Alan. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. One phone line open now. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hi, Brian. Good afternoon. 3 real quick things.
Sure.
First, Carmine lied because I went on eBay and the signed sneakers go for $300 and there's no bidding on it. So take your $25,000 up. You know what? Number 2, I love how he says, well, Biden saluted into thin air. He doesn't know where he's walking. Yeah, as Trump calls all of us suckers and losers that were in the military. But that's okay. But bring out what Biden is doing. At least he's running the country like he's supposed to.
But so I agree with you. And hold on, I just wanted to say I agree with you. And then I made the case to Carmine, if you really care about waving to nobody, then what about the guy who does it intentionally, the snake in Donald Trump?
Correct.
You can go on YouTube and see all the places where he's waved to nobody because he's a lying snake.
I saw it yesterday. He walked out of the airport, the camera turned to the right, and there was no one there.
There's nobody there.
The last thing I want to say is that the Supreme Court, I knew they were going to side with allowing women to take this pill.
Right.
That they just
the abortion
because
pill,
that's a little nugget they threw in order to get everything else they really want passed.
Right.
Now, that lady you had on yesterday, I can't stand this nonsense, Brian, is when they say he's unfit, I don't want him as president, I didn't read Project
25.
Whatever it is, 2025. She didn't read Project 2025? Really?
Let me tell
and
you
you are
something.
the national chair?
Mark, let me
Really?
tell you something, Mark. I'm going to give you a secret. And by the way, I appreciate the call. We had the former Nevada Republican chair, Amy Tarkanian, in studio. She's now anti-Trump. I'm going to get her to vote for Joe Biden. It's going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to turn her around, and then I'm very confident of that. I've turned some MAGA Republicans into either not voting for Trump or voting for Joe Biden. I could name you some of them if they will allow me to, but I know Republicans out there that I've changed their mind. I'm working on Amy. She's a very nice lady, very intelligent woman. I think we're going to get there before November. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julian, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Julian?
Hey, Brian. Dude, Celtics are 1 game away, so I'm fantastic.
I'm feeling pretty damn good myself. That was a nice W yesterday. I actually thought Dallas was going to win yesterday, and they might win Game 4, but the Celtics are going to be raising another banner, and then I'll wear another Celtics jersey to a MAGA cult event.
Fantastic. I mean, and that's just what I want to talk about, which is it is a cult, right? Which is like you can be a fan of something or whatever, but like point to me a single Republican who stands against Trump or says, I don't believe in this, who isn't immediately ostracized and called a rhino and thrown out, right? Like, like Liz Cheney outing Kinzinger. And I really wish for Carmine that he would read the op-ed by Jeff Duncan, former lieutenant governor of Georgia, who says that he's going to vote for Joe Biden because I agree with you in that Carmine seems like a good man, but I am going to say something harsh about him, which is he seems like a good man, but I view him as a coward because the reality is Carmine goes through mental gymnastics. He uses whataboutism to actually avoid talking about the immorality of his own party and holding that into account, right? Whenever you get into a sticky subject, he might say like, oh, I don't like that on minor issues like the Bible. But when it comes to multiple of Trump's associates pleading guilty in Georgia for trying to overturn the election, he suddenly tries to use whataboutism to say, oh, Trump's a convicted felon for trying to like subvert an election. Right. But what about Hunter Biden?
Correct.
Like that is the language and mentality of somebody who does not have the bravery
I think I agree.
to deal with an issue.
So, Julian, if you remember yesterday, we had Joe Walsh on the line. I love Joe, former MAGA Republican. And he said to Amy, and really to anybody out there that's on the fence, they're not going to vote for Trump, but they don't want to vote for Biden. And he said, okay, well, is Trump unfit for office? Yes. Then you only have 2 choices. It's either going to be Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So why not vote for the guy that, even though you don't like some of his policies, He's not unfit. Kamala Harris is not unfit. You might not like them. You might not like their policies. But why not vote for the guy that, is at least more fit than the guy who's unfit? And I think that's such a great argument, Julian, and I do appreciate your call, my friend. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, like 10 seconds. And I just want to say, and that's why Jeff Duncan's op-ed is so important, because he talks about how he is going to vote for Joe Biden because he's a good and decent man that he disagrees with, but he says he's voting Republican down the rest of the ticket because he's still a conservative Republican.
No, you're right.
And with that, I'm on my plane. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Julian. Great call. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Okay, so we have a guy coming up next who I believe is a staunch MAGA supporter, and that's okay. So instead of starting this phone call by attempting to call me names, and because some of these MAGA callers, they just call in to call me names and they don't want to have a conversation of substance. So I'd like to have a conversation of substance with this person, if I may. Carlos, if you'd like to have a conversation about something that you disagree with me on, I'm happy to do so. Would you like to do that?
Hello?
Carlos, would you like to have a conversation with me about something you disagree with me on?
Yes, totally. I'd just like to say...
No, hold on.
My call, Brian.
Yeah, no problem. So there are some MAGA callers out there, Carlos. They just call into the show and they just want to call me a name. I want to have a conversation with you about what you disagree with me on. Are you still there, Carlos? Oh, he hung up the phone. Carlos hung up the phone. You see, that was the kind of guy, and we knew it because we have a very good call screener, who calls into this show, and he wants to, just call me names, and he just wants to disagree with me. He doesn't want to disagree with anything. He just wants to call me names, so we're not going to entertain that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Carlos, if you'd like to call back and you actually want to have a conversation of substance, you're more than welcome to. Let's go to Amelia, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Amelia. How are you?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing good. Where are you calling from, Amelia?
Georgia.
All right. Hey, can you find me?
Are you coming down?
Amelia,
are you coming down here?
I don't know if I will anytime soon, but can you do me a favor? Can you find me 1,200 votes, please?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. I know I can.
Just find me 1,200 votes. Yeah. That's.
I hear.
Yeah.
I hear you. I love you. Here's the one thing I hear. I don't hear the Democrats talking about, because they always talk about, Joe Biden. He's so old, and things like this, and we always know too that anything can happen tomorrow. So, what's the question? What if something does happen? What are we going to do? Yeah. Who's going to be on that ticket? Yeah. Do we have a plan B, for example? I know that I would love to see a woman, in office.
Well, let me ask you. I want to ask you about that. I would too. I think that'd be great for the country, but depending on who it is, obviously we don't want a Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene or some of these nut jobs. Right. But Kamala Harris, let's talk about her for a moment, because the argument I hear from a lot of people on the right is, well, Joe's not going to make it. It's going to be Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris and Newt Gingrich, I was going to play this later in the show. He said some horrible things about our vice president, called her uneducated. She's got a heart, look at her education. It's a joke.
I know.
But I will say this, though. I think she's a very intelligent, educated woman. She's not great with the media, and that is my concern. And, I think if we're going to have a woman become president of the United States, she has to be better with the media. Our vice president is very educated. I have a lot of respect for what she's accomplished in her life. But if she really wants to make the case of, hey, one day I can be president, and I'm not sure she wants to do that, then she's got to do a better job in getting in front of the cameras. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I think that's where you say, too, they're spending too much time putting the camera in front of who.
Right. No, I agree. I think Harris needs to get out there more. I think it's a mistake by the Joe Biden campaign. I think Hillary Clinton made a lot of mistakes when she was running for office. She made a lot of campaign errors. She didn't do enough interviews. She didn't go to the right places. And because of that, Donald Trump won a free and fair election in 2016. I've never said otherwise. And Hillary Clinton admitted to that night or the following morning when she conceded. That's why Donald Trump won.
Right.
So you're not going to hear an argument from me.
I got you. I just, just going to hope for the best, I guess. And, keep trying to flip them, okay?
Absolutely. I will do my best. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you out of Georgia. Thank you. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you.
You bet.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. So we're going to give this a shot again. This is kind of fun, actually. So there's a lot of people out there that disagree with me on a lot of my takes. Carmine Sabia is one of them. You know, there's a reason why that guy has such a huge following. We had a good conversation debate for 45 minutes. There's two different types of people that disagree with me. There's the people that have no intelligence, that will just name call me, and they don't want to say why they disagree with me. And I think they're just going to, go with a trope or go with name calls. Those people have no intelligence, and they're very stupid people. And then there are the people that I get into good debates with that talk to me, and even though we might disagree, but they bring up their takes, whether I agree with them or not, and we're willing to have a conversation. 702-221-7283. Let's see if the next caller is willing to have a conversation with me or just wants to say stupid things and giggle like an 8-year-old. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next. Hello, Mike. What do you disagree with me on, Mike?
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Mike. What do you disagree with me about?
Oh, no, I was just wondering if you're going to give
No,
any
Mike.
Okay,
Mike. No, pot him down. Don't even hang up on him. Oh, did he hang up? Okay. So,
Hello?
So there's a guy. I set it up perfectly because I'm glad we're getting these calls. Are you willing to have a debate and discussion with me of anything of intelligence? That guy couldn't do it, so we just tried to rattle off nonsense and then hung up the phone because he's a coward. These are the type of MAGA supporters that we are dealing with here. Many of these people that think this way, that don't have the brain or intelligence to have a conversation, and I'm welcome to have a conversation with anybody that disagrees, but these are people that call from all over the country that are not willing because they don't have the brain power and they have the maturity of an 8-year-old. And I think it's funny, actually. I enjoy it because I rattle them so much that they listen to my show, I grow on them as a fungus, and then they call into the show, and the highlight of their day is trying to get on air with me for 5 seconds and trying to get out something that's inappropriate or a racial slur or you name it. This is Donald Trump's base. Not everybody thinks like this. There are smart people out there that are Trump supporters, but some of these people that call in are not. Thank you, Mike, for proving what we already knew about you. You're a racist bigot and a loser that's uneducated. Donald Trump's base. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Chris, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Chris.
Yo, how's it going, Brian?
Good, man.
Yeah, I just so I'm from Canada,
cool.
and I'm looking to move to the States, but obviously, like, I visit Florida, and I like it as a tourist destination, but I can't believe the politics that goes on there, and it blows my mind that you have people like this that are Florida based that just like exude the mentality of that state and what they're going through with their governor and all that. Yeah. And they're hardcore Trumpers and
right.
all that kind of stuff. I'm just a camera guy, right? But
gotcha,
like, I mean,
gotcha. Yep.
And so the point of my calling is I've only come aware of you over the past little while because you've been getting blasted all over like Twitter and stuff like that. And I'm even new.
Not all of
What's
it.
that?
I would say half of it are people that don't like what I do, and the other half are people that love what I do. I mean, you look at the comments, it's half and half, and you know what? That's what I like about it, Chris. I want to deal with people that disagree with me. And if the MAGA base out there are triggered, I'm just going to keep putting out more content. You know, they're giving me more ammo to put up more content. Like the people that, there are multiple shows out there that live stream my show because they can't come up with their own content, and I triggered them. I'm not live streaming any shows. I never have in my 20-year career, and I never will because I come up with my own material. But these are people that are easily triggered, and these are the same people that call the left triggered. They're the ones who use the term wokeness. They're the ones who use the term crybaby. But yet these are the same people where if I make one statement that they disagree with, they are up in arms. You should have heard the space I was on the other day with like 20 or 30 MAGA Republicans that were so triggered. I literally had one guy that I don't even remember who he was. His name's Sean. Actually, I remember now. His name's Sean. And I put out a tweet calling him a right-wing buffoon or something like 2 years ago. He blocked me 2 years ago, and then he goes on a space. He was so angry because I called him a name 2 years ago on Twitter. That's who I'm dealing with. That's who some of these people are. But I'm glad that there are people out there like you that found the show, my friend.
Right. So where are you actually located?
So I'm glad you asked. I do my show in Las Vegas, Nevada. And obviously we broadcast, and as you can hear by the show, we get calls all over the country, and you're calling from Canada because, we're on all these different social media platforms, and, I'm very appreciative for that.
Yeah, I mean, the internet's great for being able to broadcast all over the place, and, so, and where do you feel like, so you're in Nevada.
Correct.
So where do you feel like Nevada stands as far as your politics versus these guys that you're fighting with? And like, where do you think that
where the whole country stands, and here's what I mean by that. Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016. He lost the popular vote badly in 2020. Same thing's going to happen in 2024. Yes, you have your maggots, and you have people that are Trump supporters. They are not the silent majority. They are the loud minority. The overwhelming number of people in this country are not Donald Trump supporters, and that rings true in Nevada. By the way, Nevada is a swing state. Nevada is very, very important.
That's why I was asking.
Very, very important. And if you look at a lot of the MAGA Republicans, some of the extremists, they lost in the election the other night. Some won, but most of them lost. And I think the most extremists, I would say, lost. And I think that rings true.
But you referred to him losing the popular vote. So if populism is touted as a bad thing currently, then why would that be a valid argument?
So the argument that people make are, 50% of the country, some on the right side, 50% of the country are on board with Trump. No, they're not. That's a lie. And, it's just not true. More than half the country, even close to half the country, does not support Donald Trump.
Yeah, but that's not my question. My question is, you hear, especially people on CNN, they use the term populism as a pejorative these days, right? It's tantamount to white supremacist and all the other buzzwords that they throw out there.
Yeah.
So if populism is so bad, then why would you use the Trump losing the populist vote as a bad thing?
I see it as a good thing. Number one, because I think
so. Then populism is a good thing.
Well, I like the fact that the overwhelming majority of Americans in this country are not Donald Trump supporters. But I will say this: we have something, as you know, called the Electoral College, and the Electoral College is put in place so that Republicans have a chance to win. Presidential elections, Republicans have lost 7 of the last 8 in the popular vote. If we were talking about popular vote, I would say this right now on the air: Donald Trump would never have any chance to have won. He would never have become president of the United States. But the reason why...
But that's why you have a democratic republic as opposed to a democracy, right? Whereas we up here in communist Canada, we've got a true democracy where 51% of the populace decides what we get.
Which, by the way, I think the Electoral College is a freaking joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, that might be the case.
What does it matter if somebody lives in Vermont or L.A.? Every person's vote should matter the same. And it's interesting because Republicans want to say the Democrat or Trump will say they've cheated, it's rigged. The Electoral College is rigged to help Republicans. And if that's not the case, let's go ahead and do an experiment and get rid of the Electoral College, and let's see how many Republicans win a presidential election, because it'll be probably 10%, if that.
But how could it be the case? So based on your argument, do you know how many Republican presidents versus Democrat presidents there have been throughout the history of the United States?
I couldn't give you a number of right now off the top of my head of every single president. I can tell you, I believe it's 7 of the last 8 presidential elections. The popular vote
that's
was won.
recent history. I'm talking about and I'm going based on what you're saying. So your argument is that the Electoral College is only there to service the Republicans, but I will tell you, and you can easily look this up for yourself, there have been a majority by quite a few. I don't remember the exact number, but it's been a majority of Republican presidents since the inception of the United States.
Okay, but I'm not talking about something that took place, in upwards of 50 years ago. I'm talking about current times, the last couple decades, the last several decades.
But it's still the Electoral College. The concept is still there since 1776.
I understand, but we're not talking about 1776. It's like the argument that I get into with people when it comes to the Constitution and the Second Amendment and everything else. We're talking about right now, and I'm telling you beyond the shadow of a doubt, sir, and by the way, I appreciate the phone call. Right now, the Electoral College only benefits one side. I'm not talking about 100 years ago or 200 years ago. I'm talking about in 2024, the Electoral College only benefits one side, and that's the Republican Party, Chris. And I appreciate you listening out of Canada, my friend. One of my good friends, Real Kid Poker from Canada, brilliant guy, one of the best poker players in the world, Danny Negreanu. He does this show all the time, but he's playing in the World Series of Poker right now. All right, we're going to take one more call, and then we got to go to break. 702-221-7283. We'll get other calls on the other side. Let's go to Gary. Gary's next on PTL. What's up, Gary?
Let's say you're correct, and all these brainwashed Trump people are some of the dumbest people in the whole country. Let's say you're correct.
Some. I never would say all. Some.
I said some too.
Okay,
all right.
Fair enough.
Isn't it dumb to just leave the border open? Isn't it dumb of the Democrats not to say, okay, enough is enough?
Sure.
Give them what they want. They want money to build a real wall, and Trump, some of the voters might be swayed. Some of the
Okay, Gary, that's a fair
independents,
question. Here, let me answer that.
And then let me talk about
hold on,
old
one at a
McDonald
time. Hold on,
and
one at a time.
cowards.
Okay, I hear you, Gary. I'll give you the opportunity, but let me answer your first question first. Fair enough?
Sure.
Okay, good. So hang on the line here. So Donald Trump ran in 2015 and 2016 on two things. We're going to hire a special prosecutor to get Hillary Clinton. By the way, he never did that. That was a lie. And number two, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. He built 16% of the wall. That's a failure. And Mexico didn't pay $1 for it. So that's number one. Number two, you had a bipartisan bill put forth by Lankford and MAGA Republicans and Democrats. Didn't have everything in there that both sides wanted, but it was a start. And Mace and other of these MAGA Republicans, they put it together. And guess what happened? Donald Trump, with his little Trump fingers, picks up the phone, and he tells Mike Johnson and other MAGAs, don't sign off on it unless it's perfect. And the reason why he did that is not because he thought it was a bad bill, not because he cares about the border and he really wants the best bill possible. He did it for one reason, because he doesn't want Joe Biden to look good, and all he cares about is winning re-election. So many of these MAGA Republicans went with it. Not all of them, but some of them went with it. Even some of the people like Mace, who actually helped put this bill together and signed off on it and agreed to it until Trump told them not to. They are cowards. So Joe Biden, I believe he wants to get something done, but this is a failure on both sides, right? But what I don't want to hear is how the right wants to fix this problem at the border, and then when they have an opportunity to do so, they vote against it because Donald Trump tells them to. This is not a Republican problem. This is not a Democrat problem. This is an American problem, Gary.
Can I tell you a secret?
Do you disagree with what I said?
It's over my pay grade right now, all of that.
Okay.
I could discuss it, but there isn't enough time.
Okay.
I just want to let you know what Vladimir Putin is up to. He's trying to get even what Ronald Reagan and this country did to him during the Afghanistan war that they had and make him go broke and belly up. Yeah. They're having a war with Ukraine, so we spend ourselves out of existence, and he's getting away with it because our politicians, all of them, and I'm with you. Yeah. I am not a conservative or a Republican. They're all a bunch of dumbbells, and we're in a lot of trouble.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, Gary. I wouldn't say every MAGA supporter is a dumbbell, or I don't generalize like that. I get your frustration. Listen, I think Rashida Tlaib is a dumbbell. I think Ilhan Omar is a dumbbell, but, I think Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Gymnasium Jordan, there's a lot of dumbbells on the far right these days. I think there's far more educated people in office on the left today than on the right. All right, we'll take one more phone call before we go to break because I'm going really late here. 702-221-7283. My understanding is we have another MAGA caller that's calling into the show, so I'll give them an opportunity to actually talk about something of substance that they maybe disagree with me on, as I always give everybody the opportunity. But if they don't have the wherewithal or the intelligence to do that, then we move on. All right, let's go to Jerry. Jerry, I give you that opportunity. What do you disagree with me on? I think Jerry's on another planet. Jerry, are you there? Okay, we'll say goodbye to Jerry. I think Jerry was on another planet. I don't know. I think he was on an Obama phone. Sorry, Jerry, you can call back. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I got to take a break. I went really long this break. I appreciate all the calls from all over the country, even Canada. When we come back, I got into it with Larry Elder. And the topic of January 6th still comes up a lot. But it's a question that so many on the far right refuse to answer. What was that question? And why did Larry Elder refuse to answer it? We're going to play it for you coming up next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, programming note, we got the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, joining us on the show tomorrow, so I certainly look forward to that. Listen, I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, because I've been in contact with the Trump campaign, and there is an opportunity and a possibility that Donald Trump could be joining us on the show tomorrow. It might only be a few minutes, but I'm working on it. If Donald Trump does join us on the show for a couple minutes, it'll probably be to start the show. So we'll see if we can get Mr. Donald Trump on the show for just a few minutes tomorrow. But welcome back. I want to thank Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Show your TAM card. You get $50 in free slot play every Tuesday. And today they're giving out $1,500 in free gas cards. All you got to do is play the slots, get 200 points, and you're entered into the chance to win, and they give that out every Thursday. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. So I played some audio earlier today. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that January 6th wasn't an insurrection. Stop calling Donald Trump an insurrectionist. Stop calling us an insurrectionist. And I don't really get too much into that debate. Whether you call it a riot or an insurrection, it doesn't really matter to me. What matters is the laws were broken. A lot of people were injured that day. Some people died. It was a horrible and an embarrassment day for the country. But I recently, not that long ago, I had Larry Elder on the show. Larry Elder is a conservative syndicated talk show host who, by the way, ran for president of the United States. I think some people forgot about that. And this is the case when I run into these MAGA Republicans, who I think many of them are very disingenuous. I don't think Larry Elder's a dumb guy. He's just very disingenuous. Like when he says that, systemic racism doesn't exist, very disingenuous. But listen, the MAGA cult love it when a black man or woman says that systemic racism does not exist. That's like political porn for them. They love it. They love it when a guy like Larry Elder says stuff like that, and he's made a career out of doing it. So this is the point where me and Larry Elder really got into it. And it's a question that Larry Elder refuses to answer on this show. Have a listen. If Donald Trump didn't say months before January 6th that the election was stolen and didn't say that Democrats cheated and Joe Biden cheated, which, by the way, they didn't, does January 6th still happen? Yes or no?
I'm sorry. Did Hillary lie when she said
Why
that?
Why do you bring up Hillary Clinton? I'm asking you a question now
because you're being inconsistent. You're being a phony.
No, that's what about it?
You're engaging in selective outrage. When people on the left say "whataboutism," what they're doing is dodging their hypocrisy, dodging their double standards, dodging their selective outrage. Hillary, for 4 years, called Donald Trump illegitimate. Was she lying, Brian?
Okay, so let me start by, and we're going to play some more audio there. I asked him a direct question about Donald Trump and January 6th. Then he starts bringing up something completely irrelevant, a comment that Hillary Clinton made, and she did call him illegitimate. She didn't say the election was illegitimate. Larry Elder is lying. She said that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president, not because of what happened in the election, because of his behavior and the things he says and the things he does. Attacks on our brave men and women in uniform, attacks women on looks. She called him illegitimate. She didn't say that the election was stolen. Larry Elder is a liar, but the conversation goes on. Okay, so first of all,
was she lying?
I will answer.
Was she lying?
I will answer your question, even though you didn't answer mine.
I'm happy to answer yours after you answer mine. You go first. Was she lying? Was Jimmy Carter lying when he called, when he said the Russians put Donald Trump in office? Was Keith Jeffries lying when he referred to Donald Trump as illegitimate?
I'll answer your question about Hillary Clinton. First of all, she conceded the following day. Second of all, she didn't incite an insurrection. Democrats didn't storm the Capitol. It's not a fair analogy.
You didn't answer my question. Was she lying?
Was she lying about what? That it was an illegitimate.
Am I stuttering? Am I stuttering? Was she lying when she referred to Donald Trump as having stolen the election? Her word, not mine. Was she lying when she said Donald Trump was illegitimately elected?
That's a lie. Hillary Clinton did not say the election was stolen. Larry Elder is a liar. She did call him illegitimate. I gave those reasons for that. And Larry Elder is a fool and a liar. And I answered the question, and it continues here, but still, Larry Elder never answers my question. Okay,
her word's not mine. Was she?
So here's the difference between you and me. I can call out both sides. If Hillary Clinton did say that,
what do you mean if she said it? She said it over and over and over again.
Not true.
No if about it.
Not true. Even though I don't think I think it's a false comparison. If Hillary did say that, then she's wrong. And any Democrat that would say that Donald Trump illegitimately won the 2016 election is wrong. So now I go back to my question that I asked you. I just answered your question. And by the way, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered independent. I lean to the left.
Please. When was the last time you voted for a Republican?
In 2022, in the midterm elections, I voted for 8 Republicans. So now you have.
When's the last time you voted for? When's the last time you voted for a Republican for president, Brian?
I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I supported Mitt Romney. I supported John McCain. So I preach to what you just said. You don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know anything about my voting record. So there's a little more to get to in this. But he just made a judgment about me that is blatantly false. Blatantly false. And that's what so many MAGA Republicans who don't have an argument with me do. I've always been a registered independent. I'm very anti-Donald Trump. I voted for 8 Republicans in the midterms. I will probably vote for some Republicans in November. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. I did not vote for Barack Obama. Mitt Romney, decent man. I would have been okay with him becoming president. I think he would have been an okay president. John McCain, hero, decent man. Was not a fan of Sarah Palin. One of the best moments, at least in my generation of politics, is when a very ignorant lady, and this rings true to today because there's a lot of ignorant MAGAs out there that still go after Barack Obama with the birther issue and anything else. She called him an Arab. John McCain takes that microphone away from her, rightfully so, and says, "No, ma'am. Barack Obama is a decent man, a decent family man. We disagree on policy. And I saw that moment. And at that point, I by the way, I was going to vote for Barack Obama. I did not after I saw that, because I appreciate that. That would never happen today. Can you imagine Donald Trump taking the microphone from a lady who says, Joe Biden, he's a pedophile? John McCain would take that microphone and say, no, ma'am. Joe Biden's a decent man. We disagree on policy. That's the way it should work. But all Donald Trump does is do what that ignorant lady did years ago. The birther issue. He's an Arab. Barack Hussein Obama. So if you noticed, I answered Larry Elder's question, even though he answered my question by asking me a question. And now I press him again, and I ask him the original question, which still he refuses to answer. You don't know anything about my voting record. I'm a registered independent, and I'm anti-Donald Trump. It's why I voted for Joe Biden, and it's why millions of Americans voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Not because we're huge Joe Biden fans, because we didn't want to vote for Donald Trump. Now, let me go back and ask the question again that you refused to answer. I'll ask it again. If Donald Trump didn't lie and say the election was stolen months before January 6th, does January 6th still happen? Yes or no?
Donald Trump did not lie. Donald Trump made a First Amendment argument that the election, in his view, was stolen. Based upon shenanigans that took place in Pennsylvania,
didn't happen.
Michigan,
Unproven.
Wisconsin. We can go
Didn't
into
happen.
depth
It's
about
a lie.
all those states. As far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump did not lie. Donald Trump offered his opinion. Hillary Clinton, for one more time,
There he goes
Donald
again.
Trump as illegitimate for 4 years. Hakeem Jeffries, who took over from Nancy Pelosi, referred to Donald Trump as illegitimate. Former President Jimmy Carter claimed the Russians put him in the White House. All these people made these arguments. Nobody called them liars. People assumed they had an opinion, a First Amendment opinion, and Donald Trump has a First Amendment opinion.
Donald Trump lied about the election. Now, notice he didn't give me an answer, because the answer is obviously no. If Donald Trump didn't lie about the election, and that's what it was, if he didn't say the election was stolen, if he didn't say that Joe Biden cheated and the Democrats cheated, obviously January 6th doesn't happen, but Larry Elder has no moral compass, and he won't answer a question honestly. And by the way, it's amazing to me that Larry Elder's not smart enough to understand this. I think he is. He just knows he's full of crap. There is a fine line difference between saying somebody is an illegitimate president, that could be based on character, based on action, and saying that the election was stolen, it was rigged. Hillary and Hakeem Jeffries did not say the election was rigged. They did not say the election was stolen. They did call Donald Trump illegitimate, and I would say the same thing. Why do I think Donald Trump is illegitimate? For the same reasons why Hillary Clinton and Hakeem Jeffries said it. Right now, by the way, he's a convicted felon. I think he should be illegitimate because he's a convicted felon. But going back to 2016, and this is an opinion, I believe he's illegitimate. Not saying the election was stolen, illegitimate. When you say you don't respect someone like John McCain because he was captured, when you go after women based on looks and attack Gold Star families and say these Mexicans, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, when you attack the handicapped in a speech, that's to me what makes you illegitimate, because all those behaviors and actions are beneath the presidency. There is a difference between saying I believe he's illegitimate and saying that the election was stolen. What Donald Trump has done since the 2020 elections is say that the election was stolen. There is zero evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of a free and fair election. And I want to play cut 5, and I believe this is Byron Donalds in cut 5. And I want to skip to cut 5 because you hear a lot of these MAGA Republicans that are talking about impeaching Joe Biden. They don't want to talk about Donald Trump. They don't want to talk about the 24 felonies. They don't want to talk about his behavior and the 3 other indictments that he's facing. They don't want to talk about the fact that he's a liable sexual abuser proven in a courtroom. No, they don't want to talk about that. Byron Donalds, who is a right-wing imbecile fool who wears the Donald Trump knee pads on a daily basis, wants to talk about Joe Biden should be impeached. That's what he said, his words, not mine, because of student loan forgiveness and helping Americans that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. Have a listen to this.
This is a rogue government. It's a radical government. You're right about student loan debt. The Supreme Court has told Joe Biden no. The Congress has not voted on anything like this for student loans, but he does it anyway. That is a violation of separation of powers. It's an impeachable offense.
It's an impeachable offense to Byron Donalds because Donald Trump wants to help middle-class America and those that are struggling and poor, that are living paycheck to paycheck, those that are on food stamps, those are really struggling to make it in this country. He wants to give them student loan forgiveness. And a guy like Byron Donalds, who is a former drug dealer, who has been a beneficiary of government assistance, wants Joe Biden to be impeached, his words, not mine, because of a student loan forgiveness bill that Joe Biden has implemented that is helping millions of Americans as we speak. What the hell has Byron Donalds done in his life to help people besides brown-nosed Donald Trump? And now he wants, you can't make this up, he wants a president impeached for student loan debt forgiveness. You can't make this stuff up. And while all this is going on, Mr. DeSanctimonious himself, Ron DeSantis, had a little bit of a bad day yesterday. And this gender-affirming ruling that took place in Florida, where regardless of what your opinions are on gender-affirming care, Ron DeSantis is trying to abolish it. He's trying to get rid of it. Regardless of what parents say, regardless of what doctors say, regardless of what psychologists say, because Ron DeSantis, he's the guy. And I was in a space the other day, which I regret, and some buffoon who did my show a couple years ago, a complete idiot who I'll never have on again. He does a podcast with like 20 listeners. In the space, he says, Brian, are you okay with all these teenage girls that are getting their breasts cut off? I responded to him by saying, how's that affecting you? He says he doesn't have kids, and usually the people that are crying about this the most are the ones that don't have kids. He thinks there's about 5 seconds of silence because he doesn't know what to say because it's not affecting him. And then he's like, well, my niece and nephew are in school. I said, so what? Have you had personal, private conversations with them and you think it's affecting them? Of course, he didn't have an answer for that. So the people, many of the people that are crying about this are the people that either don't have children or if they do have children, they're not getting gender-affirming care. So it's not affecting them at all. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think if you're pre-puberty and you're getting transgender surgery, I'm uncomfortable with that. I think you probably should be a little bit older. What age is that? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. But yeah, I find it a little strange. But then again, I don't think like that because I don't want transgender surgery. So it's hard for me to get in their heads and understand the troubles that they go through, and I sympathize with them. So anyway, Ron DeSantis, he tried to put this gender-affirming ruling in the books. He lost. He says he's going to appeal it. He was asked the question in a press conference about it because now we're talking about taxpayer dollars that are going to appeal this. And here was his response.
Because it's wrong to mutilate minors. It is wrong. It is wrong to perform a sex change on a 16-year-old. You're not allowed to get a tattoo, but somehow you can have your privates cut off. Give me a break. This is wrong. And I would also say this has already been decided by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. They upheld Alabama's law, which was almost identical to Florida's law. This will be reversed. There's no question it'll be reversed.
So if Ron DeSantis appeals this, which I would imagine that he will, I don't think he's going to win. He's wasting taxpayer dollars. I've had plenty of conversations with all sorts of different people that agree or disagree with this. While I can't relate to how difficult it must be to want to be the opposite gender, that's got to be hell to go through. I certainly feel bad for many of these people, and I want them to make their own decisions. Do I think pre-puberty making a decision like that, regardless of, if your parents are okay with it, doctors are okay with it, do I think it's a little strange? Yeah, I do. Am I a little uncomfortable with it? Yeah, I am. And for the record, I would also say, I don't agree. If you're born a man, you shouldn't be competing with other women on the playing field. And I think anybody that's okay with that is very misguided, and it's very dangerous to women in sports. And I think most Democrats would agree with me on that. I think most of the country would agree with me on that. If you're born a man competing against women, I think it's very dangerous. And it's very unfair. So let me start out with that preface. At the same time, I want people to just live their lives. Be who you are and be proud of it. And it's amazing to me how many people are so against Gay Pride Month. And they don't even understand why we have Gay Pride Month. This is a group of people that has been discriminated against for decades and decades and decades. And many of these people are finally feeling comfortable enough to be who they are in their own skin. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate them. And I want them to be happy. And I want them to be who they are. And I was in a local bar last week. And I wanted to tell this story on the air because it goes to exactly what we're talking about right now, or what I'm talking about. Sitting next to two gentlemen, one guy sitting at a slot machine and another guy who shows up, and you know, looked like Diesel, right? He looked like Mr. Clean. He had the shaved head. He had tattoos everywhere, so on and so forth. He comes in. And unsolicited, he starts talking about his hatred towards the homosexual community, and nobody even started talking to him. And he's like, man, I hate these gay people, he said. He started talking about children being indoctrinated. So this guy sitting next to me, who seemed like a really nice gentleman, because I was talking to him earlier, he looks at the guy and he goes, you know, I'm gay. What you're saying is very offensive. And then they start getting into a conversation, and I knew it wouldn't go very well. And this guy with the shaved head, and it wasn't me, by the way, guy with the shaved head and tattoos, starts talking about how our children are being indoctrinated. And I asked him, I said, do you have kids, sir? Because I had to get involved in this conversation. And again, he said, no. And I said, how is it affecting you? And he said, well, it's really not affecting me. Then I said, why are you complaining about it? So the first step is, are you a parent? Do you have kids? Do you have direct evidence that kids are being affected by this? Your kids are being affected by this. Not other kids, your kids. Because if you don't have direct evidence of it, then I don't want to hear you complain about it, right? So that was step number one. Step number two, he starts talking about Gay Pride Month, which happens to be this month. And he says, they're forcing me. And I said, they're forcing you to be gay? Did it work, sir? And he starts laughing, and he's like, no. Then I said, how are they forcing you? What are they doing? I see it everywhere. I see it on TV. I haven't seen anybody on TV said you have to be gay. The message that I seem to hear from people in the gay community are, it's okay to be gay. Be prideful. Be happy for who you are. We want people treated as equals. That's not forcing people to be gay. And the idea that somebody could even be forced to be gay is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. As if, boy, I saw that commercial on TV. I think I'm going to be attracted to men now. Are people really this stupid that they believe that stuff? So the bartender comes over, rightfully so, because the guy started to get, not the guy who was gay, the guy with the tattoos who was very anti-gay, he started to get very loud. And you could tell he was getting red in the face, and he was losing the argument, and he was getting frustrated. And a really stupid guy. Not very intelligent at all. Now, to his credit, though, he wasn't calling us any names, and we weren't calling him any names, but he was getting louder by the moment. It wasn't going well. People around the bar were hearing him. So the bartender comes over. Hey, no politics here. You can't talk politics here. Then he started to swear at the bartender. You don't effing tell me what I can or can't talk about. Now, obviously, these people don't understand freedom of speech. Obviously, these people don't understand if you're in a private business, they can kick you out for whatever reason they want, especially if you're causing a disturbance or you're making bigoted comments in nature. This man can't understand that. And this is the same man that probably bitches if he's banned on social media. They can't do that. Freedom of speech. What they don't understand is, and this is like third grade stuff, freedom of speech pertains to the government, meaning the government can't arrest you if you're on public property holding up a sign that says, I hate gay people. The government can't get involved in that, but a private business can. So eventually he leaves. And the guy I'm sitting next to is like shooken up over it because he's a really nice guy, and this guy's really making some very bigoted comments, right? And I think to myself, How many times does this happen in society in 2024? How many times does this happen where there are so many people that are willing to not only share their opinions, but their bigoted views? How many times does this happen? And I felt bad for the guy sitting next to me, because we knew that this guy was a Trump supporter because he said it. He was at the rally the other day. That's what Donald Trump did. He didn't make people bigots. But what Donald Trump did is he gave people a pathway to be comfortable in their bigotry. He allowed people to walk into a bar, and yes, I do blame Donald Trump for this, because it's almost like the far right, they socially accept it now. And when you hear people like Ron DeSantis talk about how horrible it is to have kids that get this gender-affirming care, it gets people out there, people that don't even have kids, like this guy who walked into this bar, a reason to hate people, parents, doctors, and they think that a 12-year-old could just wake up one day and walk into a hospital and get transgender surgery. Folks, that's not the way it works. There's a long process to go through. First of all, you have to have guardians that agree to it. That's an important step. Doctors, psychologists, the whole board. This is not something you just do overnight. It's a long process you have to go to with professionals to make sure that they believe that it is also the right choice for this child to make. And again, I think you should be at least past puberty to enabled to have transgender surgery. That's my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not going to bark it in a public setting and push people that idea. It's just my opinion. I'm not doing it now either. Parents have the right to make that decision for their kids. And I am not going to get in their way. And that's how I feel, and I feel very strongly about this. And Ron DeSantis wants to tell parents what to do with their children. I thought that the Republican Party was the party of less government. I thought this was the party of law and order. So now this has turned into the party of, we want the government to tell you what to do. We're going to tell women what to do with their bodies. We want to tell women that they have to have the child, even if it's a rape baby. We're going to tell parents that you can't have your kids having transgender surgery. We're going to get in the way of that also. We're going to ban books, even books that talk about the history of this country, but because some books might talk about slavery or some books might be rated R, we don't want our kids to have those books, and we're just going to burn all those books also. It is absurd. It's insane. And I think what Ron DeSantis is doing is also bigoted in nature. But listen, I'm not surprised. A lot of people put Ron DeSantis as a favorite to be our next president in 2028. That might be the case. This is a guy who puts migrants on a plane, gives them brochures with a bunch of lies in them, and the only reason why he treats human beings like that is so he can own the libs. So I'm not surprised that Ron DeSantis is doing this. Now, on the other side, there are extremes on the other side as well. As I stated earlier, I do not believe that if you are born a man, you should be able to play sports with women on the playing field or on the basketball court or in the octagon. It's very unfair, and it's also very dangerous to the women that are competing. It's wrong. If you decide to have transgender surgery, go for it. I'll call you he or she. It doesn't affect me at all, and I'll be respectful. I'm happy to do so. I want you to live your best life. I want you to be happy. I don't care what bathroom you use. There's no evidence to support the fact that because you have transgender surgery, that means you're going to go into bathrooms and start raping children. That idea is also completely stupid. The idea that people are having transgender surgery so they can go into the other bathroom and attack your kids is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's absurd. So what I would say, let people live their lives. Stay out of their life. I'm not stopping people from buying Donald Trump Bibles. I'm just calling you out for it. I don't want a bill put forth that says Bibles can't be sold to people with Donald Trump's liking on it. I'm not calling for that. I just think you're all idiots. You're cultists. I think it's absurd. But I don't want a bill that says people can't sell Bibles. Go ahead. I just think you're a bunch of fools. I'm not trying to put a bill forward that says you can't buy and sell $400 Trump gold sneakers. I think you're an idiot if you buy them. But I don't want a bill put forward by Democrats that's saying you can't sell gold sneakers or Donald Trump condoms. I'm not saying that, but they're trying to put bills forward to try to tell parents what to do with their kids. They're trying to put bills forward. They're trying to they did overturn Roe versus Wade. We saw what happened in the Supreme Court in Arizona. We saw what happened in the Supreme Court in Alabama. We saw it all. I don't want the government involved in our life. I certainly enjoy government programs that help people. I appreciate government programs that help people that are struggling. I'm for maternity leave. I'm for unemployment. But I don't want the government telling people what to do with their bodies. I'm not in favor of that at all. And make no mistake about it, the reason why 2022 elections were so bad for Republicans was because of, in my opinion, the main reason being the abortion issue. I don't want government involved and intrusive in our life. I never have, and I never will. So I think about these topics a lot. And as I say, I make no apologies for it. I absolutely lean to the left on social issues. We could be talking about transgenders or the LGBTQ community. We could be talking about minorities. We could be talking about student loan debt, welfare, food stamps, Medicaid, gay marriage. Yes, I lean to the left on these issues. I'm also for border security. If you're undocumented, I don't think you should be allowed to get a driver's license. If you're undocumented, I don't think you should be allowed to get a bank account. Yes, we do have a crisis at the border, and I want it fixed. I want both sides to come together. With Donald Trump around, that's going to be very difficult to happen. I'm for capital punishment. Bring back the electric chair for all I care. With DNA evidence, very difficult to be found guilty of a very serious crime these days if you're innocent. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's very difficult these days. Maybe it was a little easier 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but with the technology we have now, I'm for capital punishment. I really am. I want businesses to flourish. Capitalism, so be it. Be nice if some large corporations would pay people more money, but what are you going to do? Appreciate everybody joining us. Program the show tomorrow. Anthony Scaramucci is going to be joining us. The Mooch is going to be joining us on the show. I'm certainly looking forward to that. There's a possibility we might get Donald Trump on the show tomorrow. If we do get him, it'll be to start the show tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. Even I will also thank all those that are obsessed with me, the far-right MAGA Republicans that talk about me 24/7, that have nothing better to do but pleasure themselves to me with a poster of me next to Donald Trump in their bedroom. I appreciate all of you for watching as well. Check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can buy some Pushing the Limits stuff. And no, there's no Pushing the Limits condoms or Bibles on there or gold sneakers, so you won't have to worry about that. And the stuff I'm selling on there is far more inexpensive, too. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on the show. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino. Just minutes